Little girl is mocked for wearing old clothes. The next day, she surprises everyone with a transformation they never expected. Leora stepped into the school building, her heart heavy with the familiar weight of stairs. The hallways buzzed with laughter, a sound that twisted in her chest like a thorn. She could feel the whispers dance around her, sharp and cutting. "Look at her clothes," one voice sneered. "So old-fashioned. What is she thinking?" Leora pulled her sweater tighter around her, wishing to disappear. Every day was like this. The laughter of her classmates echoed in her mind, reminding her of the names they called her, names that felt like stones thrown with precision. Each word landed hard, and she fought the urge to run away. She had learned to keep her head down, to blend into the walls of the school, but today, the weight felt heavier than usual. In her first class, Leora tried to focus on the teacher's words, but her mind drifted to memories of her grandmother. The woman had always seen beauty in the world, even when it was hard to find. "Look closely, Leora," her grandmother would say, "and you will see the magic in the little things." Leora closed her eyes for a moment, remembering her grandmother's laugh, the way it could light up the darkest room. But now, all she felt was the cold reality of her own experiences. As the lesson continued, Leora's thoughts wandered. She pictured her grandmother sitting in her favorite chair, sketchbook in hand, creating beautiful drawings. "Art can be a friend when the world feels cruel," she had said. Leora wished she could feel that kind of comfort. Instead, she felt like a ghost in a room full of life. The bell rang, jolting her back to the present. Students rushed out, their voices a chaotic symphony of excitement. Leora took a deep breath, the air thick with anticipation and anxiety. She gathered her things slowly, hoping no one would notice her lingering. But as she walked out of the classroom, she could feel the eyes on her again. The whispers resumed, a haunting melody that followed her down the hall. Why does she even bother coming to school? No one wants to see her. The words stung, and she quickened her pace, desperately searching for a safe place to hide. Finally, she slipped into the restroom, the door closing behind her with a soft click. The silence enveloped her like a warm blanket, but it was not enough to ease the turmoil inside. Leora walked over to the mirror, her heart pounding. She looked at her reflection, searching for the girl she once knew. The girl who laughed freely and wore her grandmother's clothes with pride. But the girl staring back at her seemed like a stranger, her eyes clouded with doubt and sadness. "Who am I?" Leora whispered, her voice barely audible. The girl in the mirror did not answer. Instead, she stared back with wide eyes, filled with uncertainty. Leora reached out, touching the cool glass, as if trying to connect with the girl behind it. "I wish I could see the beauty you taught me to find," she said, her voice trembling. The silence in the restroom was heavy and oppressive. Leora turned away from the mirror, feeling lost. She wanted to scream, to let out all the hurt that had built up inside her, but all she could do was stand there, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. As she left the restroom, Leora took one last look at her reflection. She wanted to find strength, to believe that she could rise above the whispers and laughter. But for now, she felt like she was standing at the edge of a deep abyss, unsure of how to take the next step. Would she ever be able to escape the weight of silence that surrounded her? The question lingered, heavy in the air, as she stepped back into the bustling hallway, her heart racing with uncertainty. Leora walked into her room, feeling the weight of the day still heavy on her shoulders. The laughter of her classmates echoed in her mind, mixing with the whispers that haunted her thoughts. She needed a moment of peace, a place where she could escape from the stares and judgment. As she reached for her sketchbook, something caught her eye from the corner of her room. It was an old box, dusty and forgotten. Curiosity sparked within her, and she approached it. With a gentle tug, she opened the box and found it filled with old letters and a diary. Her heart raced as she recognized it as her grandmother's. Leora had always admired her grandmother, a woman who seemed to carry a quiet strength. She picked up the diary, brushing off the dust, and opened it to the first page. "Dear Leora, she read aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. The words danced in her mind as she continued. Life can be hard, but it is in our struggles that we find our true selves. As she flipped through the pages, Leora discovered stories of her grandmother's own battles with acceptance. The sketches that filled the margins were beautiful and vibrant, capturing emotions Leora could relate to. Her grandmother had faced ridicule for her dreams, yet she found the courage to embrace who she was. Leora felt a warm sensation in her chest. She could see her grandmother's spirit in the words, a reminder that she was not alone. If Grandma could do it, maybe I can too, she said softly, a hint of determination creeping into her voice. Inspired, Leora grabbed her sketchbook and began to doodle. Each stroke of the pencil allowed her to pour her emotions onto the page. She drew her heartache, the loneliness that shadowed her, and the dreams she held close. As she sketched, the pain that had once weighed her down began to lift. Look at me, she muttered to herself, her eyes focused on the drawings. I'm not just the girl in outdated clothes. I am so much more. Hours passed as Leora immersed herself in her art. She drew flowers blooming in a barren landscape, symbolizing hope rising from despair. She sketched a girl standing tall, her arms outstretched as if embracing the world. With each illustration, she felt stronger, as if her grandmother's spirit was guiding her hand. When she finally paused to glance at her creations, a flicker of hope ignited within her. I can find strength within me, she said aloud, a smile breaking across her face. I can be brave. Just then, her mother knocked on the door and peeked in. Leora, sweetheart, dinner is ready, she announced, her voice filled with warmth. What are you working on? Leora hesitated for a moment. She wanted to share her drawings, to express the feelings swirling inside her. It's just some sketches, she replied, a hint of shyness in her tone. Her mother stepped inside, her eyes widening as she saw the vibrant pages filled with drawings. These are beautiful. You have such talent, my dear. Leora felt a rush of warmth at her mother's praise. Thanks, Mom. I found Grandma's diary and it inspired me. Her mother's expression softened. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman. She always believed in embracing who you are. You should feel proud of yourself, just like she was. Leora nodded, feeling a surge of confidence. I want to be like her. I want to be brave. Her mother smiled, pulling Leora into a gentle embrace. You already are, Leora. Remember, it takes courage to be yourself, and that is a powerful thing. As Leora released her mother, she felt a newfound determination. The diary had unlocked something deep within her, a realization that she could shape her own story. She was not just a girl in old-fashioned clothes. She was an artist, a dreamer, and someone capable of change. With her heart full of hope, Leora looked at her sketches one last time before closing her sketchbook. Tomorrow would be a new day, and she would face it with the courage she had found within herself. One morning, Leora woke up with a feeling she had never felt before. It was as if the weight of the world had been lifted from her shoulders. She looked at herself in the mirror and smiled. Today, I will be me, she whispered softly to her reflection. Determined, she picked out a simple outfit, but this time, it was different. She wore a plain white shirt, but she had added her own colorful drawings on the sleeves. Each picture told a story of her dreams, her struggles, and her true self. As she walked into school, Leora felt a surge of energy. The usual noise of laughter and chatter filled the air, but today, it felt different. As she stepped into the hallway, she noticed her classmates staring. The laughter faded, replaced by an unexpected silence. Leora's heart raced. She felt a mix of anxiety and empowerment. What are they thinking? She wondered, but she pushed the doubt aside. With each step, she could feel their eyes on her. Some faces showed surprise, while others looked curious. She straightened her back and walked with confidence. I am here, she thought. I belong here. As she reached her locker, she heard a voice behind her. Leora, is that you? It was Maya, one of the girls who had often teased her. Leora turned to face her, her heart pounding. "Yes, it's me," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Maya looked at her, her face softening. "I love your shirt," she said, glancing at the drawings. "Did you do those?" "Yes," Leora replied, surprised by the compliment. "I wanted to show a bit of who I am." "I think it's really cool," Maya said, a hint of sincerity in her tone. "You're brave for wearing it." Leora felt a warmth spread in her chest. "Thank you," she said, smiling. As she made her way to class, Leora noticed other students starting to talk among themselves, pointing at her designs and whispering. Instead of feeling scared, Leora felt proud. She had made a choice to express herself, and it was being noticed. In her first class, her teacher, Mr. Thompson, stood at the front of the room, ready to begin the lesson. "Good morning, everyone," he said, looking around. "Before we start, I want to take a moment to appreciate Leora's creativity. I saw her unique outfit this morning, and it reminded me of how important it is to express who we are." Leora's cheeks flushed. She could feel the eyes of her classmates on her, some nodding in agreement. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. The lesson continued, but Leora found it hard to concentrate. Instead, she noticed Jasper sitting a few rows behind her. He had always kept to himself, but today he was watching her with a thoughtful expression. At lunch, Leora found a seat at her usual table, but this time, things felt different. Students who had once ignored her now approached. "Can we sit here?" one girl asked, her eyes bright with interest. "Of course," Leora replied, a bit surprised. As they chatted, Leora felt the atmosphere around her change. Instead of jokes and whispers, there was laughter and genuine conversation. Jasper finally walked over and stood beside her. "Hey, Leora," he said a bit shyly. "I really like your art. It's inspiring." "Thanks, Jasper. That means a lot," she said, beaming at him. "It takes courage to be different," he added, his voice steady. "I've been trying to find my own way too." In that moment, Leora realized that her choice to shine was not just for herself. It was creating a ripple effect, inspiring others to embrace their own uniqueness. As the day went on, Leora felt lighter. The silence she had once feared had turned into a space for connection. She had walked into the school as one person, but now she was part of something bigger. Each smile, each word of encouragement was a step toward acceptance. That day, Leora learned that sometimes, all it takes to change the world around you is to be true to yourself. And in that truth, she found the power of silence. Not as a weight, but as a canvas for her voice to be heard. As Leora walked through the halls of her school, she felt a change in the air. The usual whispers that followed her were quiet today, replaced by soft murmurs of admiration. Students glanced her way, their expressions different. Instead of mockery and disdain, there was curiosity and respect. "Look at her," a girl whispered to her friend, her eyes wide. "She looks so confident." Leora's heart raced as she made her way to her locker. She had worried about how her classmates would react to her new look, but it seemed that her bravery had sparked something in them. She felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. Just then, Jasper, a quiet boy she often saw sitting alone, approached her. He had always kept to himself, his gaze usually cast downwards. Today, however, he walked with a purpose. Leora noticed the way he hesitated, as if deciding whether or not to speak. Leora," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "I just wanted to say, I really admire what you did. Wearing your own art, it's amazing." Leora smiled, surprised by his words. "Thank you, Jasper. That means a lot to me. I've been thinking about, how I always hide in the background," he continued, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "But seeing you today makes me want to try being more myself." Leora felt a warmth spread through her. "You should. Everyone should be themselves. It's what makes us unique." They stood together for a moment, both feeling the weight of their struggles. Leora could see the flicker of hope in Jasper's eyes, and she felt a deep connection forming. "Would you like to sit with me at lunch?" she asked, her voice gentle. "I'd love to talk more." Jasper nodded, a small smile breaking through his usual shyness. "Yeah, I'd like that." When lunchtime arrived, Leora and Jasper found a quiet table in the corner of the cafeteria. As they sat down, Leora noticed several students glancing their way, but instead of feeling self-conscious, she felt proud. She was proud of herself, and proud of Jasper for taking this step. "So, what do you like to do?" Leora asked, eager to keep the conversation going. "I love drawing," Jasper said, his voice steadying. "But I never show anyone my work. I'm afraid they won't like it." "Why not? I'm sure it's great," Leora encouraged. "Art is about expressing who you are, not about what others think." Jasper looked down at his lunch tray, deep in thought. "I guess I've always been scared of what people might say. But seeing you today, I don't want to hide anymore." Leora beamed at him. "That's the spirit. Let's inspire each other. We could even start an art project for the school. Something that celebrates our creativity and uniqueness." "Really?" Jasper's eyes lit up. "You think people would want to join?" "Absolutely. I think a lot of students feel the same way we do. We just need to give them a reason to come together," Leora replied, her excitement growing. As they discussed their ideas, Leora noticed other students starting to gather around their table, drawn in by their energy. A few classmates she had never spoken to before approached hesitantly. "Hey, we heard you guys talking about an art project," a girl named Mia said, her voice filled with curiosity. "Can we join?" "Of course," Leora said enthusiastically. "The more, the merrier." As lunchtime continued, more students flocked to their table, sharing their thoughts and ideas. Leora felt a sense of belonging that she had never experienced before. She realized her bravery had not only changed her life, but had also begun to ripple through her school. By the end of the day, Leora walked home with a smile on her face. She had not only found a friend in Jasper, but she had also ignited a spark in her classmates. Leora understood that her decision to embrace her uniqueness was just the beginning. Together, they were starting something beautiful, a movement of acceptance and creativity that could change their school forever. As the days passed, Leora noticed a change in the way her classmates looked at her. The whispers that once stung like sharp thorns were now softer, almost like gentle breezes. They seemed to be reflecting on their actions, realizing how their words could hurt. Leora felt a strange mix of hope and nervousness. It was as if the air around her was charged with new possibilities. One afternoon, as she sat with Jasper during lunch, she observed their classmates. "Do you think they really see us now?" she asked, her eyes scanning the cafeteria. Jasper, who had become a close friend, nodded slowly. "I think so. I mean, I can see it in their faces. They look different." Leora took a deep breath, feeling a warm glow in her chest. "It's like they are starting to understand what it means to be true to themselves." She smiled as she watched a group of girls at the next table. They were laughing together, their laughter ringing sweetly in the air, and Leora could sense a change in their energy. Encouraged by this shift, Leora proposed an idea to Jasper. "What if we start an art project? Something that encourages everyone to express who they really are?" Jasper's eyes lit up. "That's a fantastic idea. We could create a mural that shows our stories and how we embrace our differences." After school, Leora and Jasper got to work planning the project. They created colorful posters to hang around the school, inviting everyone to share their stories through art. "Let's make it clear that everyone is welcome," Leora said as she sketched ideas. "We want to show that our differences make us unique and beautiful." On the day of the mural painting, students gathered in the courtyard, excited to contribute. Leora felt a thrill of anticipation as she watched her classmates pick up brushes and paint. "This is amazing," she exclaimed to Jasper, who was busy mixing colors. "Look at everyone coming together." As they painted together, Leora overheard snippets of conversations. "I never thought I could share my art like this," one girl said shyly. "I always thought it had to be perfect." Another boy added, "I used to be scared of what people would think, but now I want to show who I really am." Leora's heart swelled with joy. She turned to Jasper, who was deep in concentration, adding his own designs to the mural. "Can you believe this? It's like everyone is finding their voice," she said, her excitement bubbling over. Jasper smiled back, his eyes bright. "It's all because of you, Leora. You showed them it's okay to be themselves." As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the mural came to life. It was a vibrant tapestry of colors and stories. Each stroke of paint told a tale of courage, individuality, and acceptance. Leora stepped back to admire their work, feeling a sense of pride wash over her. The following week, the school held an assembly to showcase the mural. Leora stood on the stage, a little nervous but mostly excited. Her classmates filled the auditorium, their faces eager and curious. She took a deep breath, reminding herself of how far she had come. "Thank you all for being here," Leora began, her voice steady. "This mural represents not just our art, but our journey. It shows that we are more than just our fears and insecurities. We are unique, and that's what makes us beautiful." The room was silent, but Leora could feel the energy building. She continued, "I want to encourage each of you to be kind, not only to others, but to yourselves. Embrace who you are. We all have stories to tell, and together we can create a community of acceptance." As she finished speaking, Leora noticed nods of agreement and smiles growing across the faces in the crowd. It was a moment she would never forget. The shift in perception was real, and she had played a part in it. Leora stepped down from the stage, her heart racing with excitement. Jasper joined her, his eyes sparkling. "You did it, Leora. You inspired them." She grinned, feeling a sense of belonging she had never known before. For the first time, she felt the power of silence transforming into voices of acceptance and friendship. As the days passed, the atmosphere in Leora's school changed in a way that felt almost magical. Students who once walked in silence now greeted each other with smiles and kind words. Leora could feel the shift around her, like a warm breeze blowing through the hallways. It was as if her bravery had sparked a new way of thinking among her classmates. One afternoon, during lunch, Leora sat with Jasper at their usual table. They talked about their art project, but the conversation soon turned deeper. "You know, I never thought I could feel this way about school," Jasper said, glancing around at their peers. "It feels like we're all finally being ourselves." Leora nodded, her heart swelling with joy. "I think it's because we showed our true colors. When we are honest about who we are, it makes it easier for others to be themselves too." Just then, a group of girls approached their table. Leora recognized them as the same girls who used to laugh at her. She felt her stomach twist with nerves. But instead of retreating, she sat up straight and smiled. "Hey, Leora," one of the girls began, her voice softer than before. "We wanted to say that we really liked your art project. It inspired us. We're thinking of starting a club to share our own art." Leora's eyes widened in surprise. "Really? That sounds amazing. I would love to help you with that." Jasper's face lit up, and he added, "Art can bring everyone together. It's a great way to connect." The girls exchanged glances, and Leora could see a flicker of understanding among them. They smiled back, and for the first time, it felt like they were on the same team. As the weeks rolled on, small acts of kindness became the norm. Students began leaving encouraging notes in each other's lockers. They shared art supplies and helped one another with homework. Leora watched in awe as friendships blossomed in unexpected places. One day, as she walked through the hallway, she noticed a shy girl sitting alone on a bench. Leora recognized her from class, but had never spoken to her. Gathering her courage, she approached her. "Hi, I'm Leora. Would you like to join us for lunch?" The girl looked up, surprised but hopeful. "Really? I'd love that." As they walked to the lunchroom together, Leora felt a sense of fulfillment. She was no longer just the girl who was different. She was a part of something bigger. In art class, Leora decided to share her story with the students. "I want to talk about how important it is to be kind and to accept ourselves," she said, standing in front of the class. "When I embraced who I am, I noticed others feeling free to do the same. We support each other now, and it makes school a better place." The room filled with nods of agreement. Jasper raised his hand. "I used to hide my drawings because I was afraid of what people would think, but now I show them to everyone. It feels good to share." Another student chimed in. "I started a poetry club because I wanted a place where we can express ourselves without fear." Leora felt her heart swell with pride. "That's what I mean. When we connect and share, we build a community. We all have something unique to offer." The days turned into weeks, and the changes continued to ripple throughout the school. Leora often caught glimpses of students helping each other, laughing together, and creating art side by side. The hallways, once filled with whispers and judgment, now buzzed with support and friendship. Finally, the day of the big assembly arrived. Leora stood in front of her classmates, her heart racing, but this time it was filled with excitement, not fear. She looked out at the faces before her, friends who had once been strangers. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady. "I want to share that true strength comes from embracing who we are. When we are vulnerable and real, we can inspire others. Together, we can create a world of kindness and acceptance." The room erupted in applause, and Leora felt a warmth wash over her. She knew that she was no longer alone. She had found her place, and in doing so, she had helped others find theirs too. The power of connection had transformed not just her school, but her heart as well. Share this story if you believe that kindness can change lives and bring people together. Leave a comment about a moment when your courage inspired someone else, and subscribe for more uplifting stories like this one.